It's such an honor to be here. It's so great to be part of Class E. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. It's been really such an incredible experience to meet all of you and to be here. So the presentation I'm going to talk about tonight is based on research that I've been conducting in Brazil since 2010. This evening is going to be the mutually constitutive relationships between secrecy, esoteric wisdom, and material culture. Our founder, Neiva, was initiated into the high magic of Jesus Christ. My guide, Paulo, told me, as he showed me around the expansive grounds of the Valley of Vale. It was many hours since my first visit to the headquarters of the doctrine of the dawns, as adherents call it, one of the oldest and largest alternative religions in Brazil. By that point, Paulo had demanded for the teaching of the day as he showed me on the campus, and I to follow his detailed explanations of the group's Latin theology. Finally, we arrived at the last stop on our tour, the Great Stone Temple. Its cool darkness felt like a restorative balm on my skin after the fierce sunlight of the central Brazilian high plains. As my eyes adjusted to the temple's deep interior, I continued his picture. Aunt Neiva, pictured here in the temple, undertook a rigorous course of study with a living esoteric master, a great initiate named Amanhecer, who resided in a monastery in the most remote mountains of Tibet. Every single day for 5 years, Neiva would travel in front of a conscious spirit to the astral plane to meet with Amanhecer, who instructed her in ancient esoteric philosophies that had been forgotten in the West. In this way, she received her mestrado, a master's degree. So that's a quote from Paulo. Paulo paused to see if I was taking this all in before continuing. Quote, this initiatory knowledge enables Aunt Neiva to implant here on earth the doctrine of the dawn, a precise, technical, ritualistic system conceived by our spiritual mentors for the spiritual evolution of humanity. This doctrine revives the true knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. And by living out this gospel, we are able to manipulate powerful energies for spiritual healing and climate prevention. And part of the 20th century occult boom in Brazil, the Valleyof is one of the number of new age and esoteric groups that have been staying around the Brazilian capital of Brasilia since the late 1950s. And this should give you a sense that Brazil is quite distant from the major cities in the rest of the country. Like many of its kin, the Vale blends elements from various religions present in Brazil with an esoteric metaphysics that emphasizes the hidden connections behind the world of appearances, promising adherents access to wisdom of a higher order, transmitted over the ages through a secret build of beings, whose evolution exceeds that of ordinary humanity. Referred to in theosophical circles as Mahatmas or Masters of Wisdom, they are known to Vale members as the Great Masters or Great Initiates. They are considered learned beings who have reached the apotheosis of spiritual development and wisdom. So in this image, it's not actually from the Valley of the Dawn, but it is from the I Am movement, which is another theosophically related movement, and it shows some of the more masters of wisdom that have appeared in these other theosophical traditions. So we have Becominga, who was H.P. Blavatsky, the founder of theosophy, one of her masters of wisdom, Jesus Christ, next, Saint Germain, and Moria, who was another of H.P. Blavatsky's masters. So Blavatsky actually claimed that the two on the ends were her primary guides in establishing theosophy, which she described as a perennialist wisdom tradition. So this whole idea of the masters, right, is not unique to the Valley. But what is unique is that after the dawn, the great masters are believed to manifest themselves in the more familiar form of spirit entities that are recognized in other spirit mediumship traditions in Brazil. And at the Vale, they're organized into different lineas or lines, such as the knights, which are pictured on the top there, gypsies, princesses, medical doctors, German, which is interesting, which is indigenous Indians, and the prophets values, who are the spirits of elderly Black slaves. So these are all spirit entities that would be widely recognized in Brazil on the practitioners of any number of religions. And they're seen as the hypogenes or the clothing of these great masters. So that the masters take these forms so that humans can understand and relate to them better. One thing that distinguishes the Valleyof from all theosophical and esoteric groups is its phantasmagoric material culture, comprised of distinctive iconography and symbols, colorful vernacular architecture, and spectacular rituals performed daily by monks dressed in dazzling garments. The sight of Valleyof performing one of these rituals calls to mind fantasy coronation staged by the native prancers. Men in long-necked capes and women in elaborate sequined multicolored gowns perform a genteel choreography around the campus stacks, as one visitor trenchantly observed, quote, takes monumental modernism on a detour through the aesthetic of the miniature golf course. Outsiders often dismiss the Valley's material culture as garish or kitsch, but for adherents, it functions as a vital pillar between the physical world and the spiritual, hypostatizing realities imperceptible to the untrained eye, the astral realms, through which humans pass before we are born and after we die. By positioning herself as heir to esoteric truths, and Neiva situated her teachings as part of the Tibetan wisdom tradition concerned with the hidden spiritual dimension of reality, a psychic science that would train followers to access hidden faculties of the self and, quote, manipulate powerful energies for human and cosmic redemption, end quote, through the practice of spirit mediumship. Over the course of nearly 2 decades, she created a spiritual metropolis that today has over 25,000 residents and is the sign of an international religious movement with over 800 temples around the world. Every detail of the Valley's exuberant material culture was necessary, at Neiva explaining her followers, because, quote, my core voice is not enough for them to understand our messages. It takes all our rituals, all our pillars, the constructions, the initiations, end quote. In this presentation, I'll focus on how to initiatory wisdom and directing masters is institutionalized, materialized, and democratized at the end of the dawn. While many initiated with professing esoteric knowledge appeal to an educated elite, the Valleyof is notable for its efforts to make what it calls, quote, initiatory knowledge available to all. As we observed, a secret keeps its power as long as its contents are not right. Thus, at the same time that the Vale promises universal access to this secret wisdom, it looks to preserve the powerful aura of the secret by obscuring it behind layers of enigmatic complexities, specialized language, and symbols. In this complex dialectic of concealment and awakening, secret knowledge is continually very present, but in semiotic code that to outsiders is bafflingly abstruse. At the same time, the Vale's hierarchical system ensures that the latent potential for secret wisdom does not translate into a distribution of social power and the Amanhecer of actions. So a couple of words about origins. But today strikes the visitor as a fully imaginary world, whereas the product of years of and followers. The genesis for this imagined world was the founder's visionary experiences, described in her autobiography and writings as out-of-body voyages to other dimensions, intense premonitions, and other extrasensory phenomena, as well as interactions with the great masters and other highly evolved beings. Based on articles of the personal charisma and reputation as a powerful medium, the Vale grew steadily during its lifetime, from several dozen to several thousands of followers. At her death in 1985, Neiva had become one of the best known Vale mediums. But before she was at Neiva, Neiva Chavez Zelaya was an ordinary housewife and mother. Quote, a simple woman, frank and hard-thinking, as her autobiography described her, with little interest in spiritual or theological matters, end quote. The precipitous death of her husband left unconditional of life. Driven by her search for steady work, she and her 4 children led an existence for several years before heading to the newly declared federal district in the Central High Plains. It was 1957, and the country was feverishly reinventing itself as a modern nation. At the center of President Juscelino Kubitschek's ambitious plan to advance Brazil 50 years in 5 was its new space-age capital, Brasilia. Neiva was one of thousands of migrant workers who heeded Kubitschek's call to construct the Brazilian tomorrow by participating in the construction of Brasilia. The intrepid widow even found work as a truck driver and set about establishing a new life for herself and her children. They had just settled into a new routine amidst the vibrant of the construction of the capital city, as Neiva's autobiography put it. When suddenly, without any possible explanation, contrary to the highly regarded logic of the physical world, she began to see and hear spirits. Terrified and fearing that she was going mad, Neiva sought help from another doctor and a Catholic priest before becoming exposed to the teachings of Spiritism and Umbanda. Spiritism is a movement that developed around the theories of Allan Kardec, a French pedagogue and amateur scientist who claimed to have developed an empirical science of the spirit world that provided a more based on the relationship between spirit and matter. I've explored the idea that life structures across a continuum that alternates between material and immaterial forms, and the spirit communicates through innumerable lifetimes, where the intellectual and moral lessons on earth that facilitate its advancement and eventually the union of God. Through this process, spirits evolve from material and sensually oriented beings to increasingly moral and selfless beings. The engine driving this process is what Kardec called the law of cause and effect, or karma. In certain cases, however, spirits of real moral reality can obsess or adversely affect the living, preventing all manner of emotional, mental, and physical illnesses. The process of removing this negative spiritual energy is called disobsession. So in this image, we see a Brazilian spiritist's explanatory diagram of the process of reincarnation on the spirit and the evolution. So you can see that it's very hierarchical and closer to the material, which is at the bottom of the quote-unquote imperfect spirits. But they're all kind of the top is Jesus and other spirits who not incarnate on earth. In order to distinguish this doctrine from the occultist and religious overtones of spiritualism, the Bible then recognizes the idea and his meaning is spiritism. Spiritism, or Cartism, as it's sometimes called in Brazil, is the form influential in Brazil and the country of its birth, and by the mid-20th century had become a constituent part of this religiosity, as anthropologist José de Carvalho observed. Among other factors, Spiritism's emphasis on dis-obsessive healing and charity contributed to its popularity, as did its compatibility with Brazilian Catholicism, which enabled figures like Jesus and the saints to be reinterpreted as highly evolved spirits. Spiritists established multiple federations, hospitals, and charities throughout the country, and promoted newspapers, radio, and television. By the late 20th century, there were many people devoted to Spiritism in Brazil, and thousands of Spiritist centers, some affiliated with organized networks like the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, whose headquarters is pictured here, and others operating independently. Millions of Brazilians identify as Spiritists, and still do. The national census of 2010 recorded 3.8 million. While millions more have attended a Spiritist session or consulted with a leader at some point in their lives. And in the final image, you see one from Vale, different Spiritist publications and services of culture that circulates the state of the English. The Spiritist movement produced nationally leaders like Chico Xavier, with the channeling messages from the dead through automatic reading or psychography, and we have more than 50 psychographed books, many of which have been translated into German, as well as many other languages, but these are just the ones that I've found doing a good research in Germany. So perhaps maybe familiar? No. Kardec's ideas also interacted with other esoteric currents in Brazil, as well as religions of African provenance, to produce Umbanda, sometimes heralded as Brazil's first truly indigenous religion, with its pantheon of spirits representing the country's mix of indigenous African and European peoples. So this just gives you a sense of the significant percentage of Umbanda practitioners who are in the southeastern states of some Sul. So this Umbanda is like the all over Brazil, but particularly in the southeast of Brazil. So this is all part of the matrix of which the Vale of the Vale is emerging. Within Spiritism's explanatory framework, Neiva's symptoms do not indicate incipient mental illness or demonic possession, but a highly unusual spiritual sensitivity or clairvoyance. After months of frequenting Spiritist and Umbanda centers, Neiva became convinced that her paranormal experiences, which would persist for the rest of her life, were visitations from highly evolved spirit entities who had chosen her for a special mission, helping them to guide humanity's spiritual evolution through the dawn of the new age. The lore that subsequently emerged around Neiva assigns great importance to the 5-year period from 1959 to 1964, which is understood as the preparatory stage for her mission. As Paulo explained to me that first day, during this period, we mastered the basics of spirit mediumship and mastered travel with a tutelage of a physicist medium with whom she had become close. These psychic skills enabled Neiva to meet deeply in the astral dimension of her Tibetan Master, who's pictured here. Was a Tibetan Master in Tibet, and he also traveled to the astral realm to Neiva. So we both left our bodies behind each other in the astral realm. According to Vale, there's this esoteric apprenticeship culminated in Neiva's mestrado, the master's degree, and initiation into the quote, high magic of Jesus Christ in 1964. In the doctrine's own narrative of its origins, this esoteric training and initiation was critical to the establishment of the Valleyof, which is a topic to which I return. And recently I was to George Bang, who's a famous person, who had a little esoteric period in his career. And I'm going to make a song called and when I'm thinking about the doctrines of human, so I was like, oh, that's interesting. George Bang is a very influenced at this period by fanaticism. So esotericism relations are sometimes surprising corners. In early 1964, Neiva separated from her closest friend and the small community that they had established and struck out on her own. In her autobiography, she described this as a necessary step towards developing her own doctrine, more suitable to the realities of the modern world. Assisted by first family members and handful of royal followers, Neiva founded the social works of the spiritualist Christian order, with the show name of the Vale of Vale. For the first few years of its existence, it was often functioned much like any other spiritualist center, without Neiva and a small cadre of mediums, proclaiming the spiritualist vision of charity by freely offering works of spiritual healing called disobsession to the public. But in 1965, Neiva met Amanhecer, the man who had become her romantic partner and one of her most important collaborators. 3 years later, in 1968, Sassi left his family, his job, and his former life to join the community economy. His mission, he wrote earlier, would be to bear witness to the spirit of the truth by interpreting Neiva's visionary experiences and building a comprehensive doctrinal system around them. To do so, he drew on his lifelong interest in alternative metaphysics and esoteric literature. By systematizing the content of Neiva's visionary experiences and developing an interpretive framework for them, grounded in esoteric metaphysics, Sassi's work laid the intellectual foundations of the movement and helped facilitate its expansion. In 1969, the river settled in its present location, a farm outside of Brazil, giving rise to the moniker Valley of the Dawn. The next 16 years saw dramatic outpouring of religious creativity as all Neiva, working closely with Amanhecer, introduced new institutional, racial, and democratic structures, each of which involved its own symbols, specialized garments, and built environments. Veteran Vale was described this period as one of perpetual invention of non-stop era, centered on Neiva's honorary revelations. Quote, the instructions from the spiritual planes did not stop coming, replied a veteran Vale. And we were always on Neiva's side to take notes about the laws and rituals and receive guidance. This continual innovation in the Valley of dynamism that characterized the movement until it was that in 1985. And here you see one of the most ambitious of these constructions, which they undertook in 1976, which is called the Strada Frondenci, or the incandescent star. And Neiva's collaboration with Valleyof over a 16-year period examined the esoteric elements of the Vale's doctrine and practices. Although the spiritist practice of disobsessive healing remains central, however, Neiva began to institute, piece by piece, a complicated organizational hierarchy of initiatory rights and titles based on what she called a vestments, or a descending force field of spiritual powers. Vale was themselves attribute the increasingly esoteric character of all Neiva's revelations, not to the partnership with Sassi, but rather to the progressive spiritual maturation. To the degree that she gained mastery of her psychic powers, they maintain, and gained greater access to esoteric knowledge, which she gradually implemented on the terrestrial plane by creating a system and a series of initiaticos, or initiatory works. These are elaborate collective rituals that are believed to recognize a dense network of powerful transcendent forces, and as a result, they can only be performed by the initiated. A key moment in this esoteric evolution occurred in the 1970s, when Neiva began to bring mestrado to her followers by creating a system for initiating mediums, esoteric initiation into the high magic of Jesus Christ, under the tutelage of her Tibetan master Neiva. Later, she expanded the mestrado by adding additional initiatory levels and consecrations. The end result is what referred to as an initiatory evangelical system based on a hierarchy of initiatory levels, each promising greater self-knowledge and access to ever more powerful spiritual forces. The implementation of the mestrado and its associated hierarchy was necessary, apparently, to her followers, in order for them to perform initiatory works in potent spiritual forces linked to the great initiates. In the next section, I'll describe the main initiatory steps leading to the mestrado and succeeding ranks within the Vale's complex organization hierarchy. Each step is said to endow the initiate with specific non-force of force that permanently transform her at a psycho-energetic level and lead to contact with higher spiritual planes. Once an individual has been invited or decided to pursue the path of spiritual development in the Vale of the Vale, she or he completes a course of preliminary training as a medium before undertaking the first initiatory step, called the Dharma Shinto initiation. Aunt Neiva told her followers that Dharma Shinto means on the path to God in the lower of the spirit worlds. Adherents explain that to embark on this initiatory step signals the individual's commitment before God, that they are consciously assuming a journey of self-transformation and spiritual development. Unlike the other initiation ceremonies that the community performs, the Dharma Shinto initiation is not open to the public. Only the aspirants and those involved in the ceremony are permitted to attend, and all participants are expected to refrain from discussing it, even amongst themselves. Despite these injunctions, descriptions of the ceremony circulate widely. The admonition to secrecy here functions less to protect the content of the ritual from exposure to the uninitiated, but to hold its significance and social capital, as well as to intensify the bonds between participants who share an experience that, at least in theory, otherwise cannot be shared. This first integral step is with multiple allusions to the transformative power of esoteric wisdom associated with ancient Egypt and the Himalayas, two civilizations that are important in Vale cosmology for their connections to the initiates and as repositories of spiritual forces summoned in certain rituals. The ceremony itself is held derived from an ancient Egyptian rite, the initiation of Osiris, which was carried out in the royal chamber of the Great Pyramid by priestesses with whom Amanhecer was associated in one of her previous lifetimes, as a member explained to me. The figure of Osiris refers in various esoteric traditions, usually as a representation of spiritual transformation or the death of the lower self and its regeneration in the higher form, the initiation into esoteric mysteries. The Dharma Shinto initiation ceremony also references the esoteric version of Jesus Christ that is central to Vale doctrine. According to Aunt Neiva, Jesus himself was initiated into esoteric wisdom by 7 clairvoyant monks in Tibet when he was 12 or 13. These Himalayan masters taught Jesus how to create a system of karmic redemption and the astral infrastructure for it, known to the doctrine as the Christic system. Just as Jesus did, Dharma Shinto initiates are said to receive 7 mantras of light, or spiritual forces from the great initiates. According to the doctrine, these are, quote, initiatic forces that open all of the chakras and then especially mark the solar plexus, transforming its nature, and thereby distinguishing that individual as initiated in the spirit worlds and in future incarnations, end quote. Doctrinal materials also describe the Dharma Shinto as an initiation into the enchanted worlds of the Himalayas, further evoking a constellation of esoteric Orientalist references that link initiation with ancient wisdom and magical powers of the mystic East. To mark these inward transformations, those who have completed the Dharma or Shinto initiation are permitted to wear a short white vest or the kolechi over the white garments that are worn by novices. As the individual continues to develop a leadership and progress through the hierarchy, she or he will acquire additional badges, symbols, and insignia, collectively referred to as arms, jivicas, or mediumistic weapons, arms, but arms as in weapons, that are displayed on the collection. The vests of fully initiated nobles are almost totally covered by these armors, so called because they protect the wearer from the adverse effects of powerful spiritual forces. After completing another development course or a series of lessons taught by trained instructors, the initiated medium, the one who's gone through the Dharma Shinto initiation, is considered ready for the second initiatory step. This is called the elevation of swords, in reference to the swords that symbolize the initiate's oath. In the course of the ceremony, individuals are said to receive another 7 mantras of force from the great initiates, adding to the forces previously received in the Dharma Shinto initiation. This is believed to further transform the solar plexus, a psychic anatomical nexus point of body, soul, and spirit that is associated with mediumship. Following the elevation of sword ceremony, the individual is considered an official member of the mestrado, the master's degree or corps of masters. Henceforth, many are referred to by the title master, as in master so-and-so. Women, who as part of the mestrado also are considered masters, are addressed as youth. At this point, the elevated medium is considered to have the necessary knowledge and preparation of their solar plexus to evoke the Cohesion Mestra, or the master plant, the spiritual force that powers the Vale's initiatory works. These are elaborate collective rituals involving dozens of mediums that occur in specific built environments, follow a specific script and a set schedule, and require a certain number of participants, representing different positions and spiritual forces within the Vale's hierarchy. So you're already getting a sense of the complexity, which is why I spent 10 years. Elevated mediums receive a certificate attesting to their status, as well as additional armas or insignia, as an outward sign of their own spiritual development. They're permitted to wear the work uniform, which is pictured here, consisting of brown pants or a skirt and black shirt, worn over which is worn the white kolechi or vest. Because they are now capacitated to work with a greater complement of spiritual forces, elevated mediums also wear specific items of clothing in certain rituals intended to protect them from the intense spiritual energies with which they are engaged. For men, this is a heavy cape with a high vampire-like collar. Women wear a special dress and cape, which is pictured here, called the Indian of Neiva, the nymph vestment, adorned with symbols embroidered in silver or gold sequins and finished with matching trim and headpiece with a veil. This protective attire is thought to be required for all mediums participating in the initiatory works. So here you see the basic male and female versions, but I encourage you, I know it's a lot of visual information, like to begin to notice differences. After the elevation of swords is the third initiatory step called the consecration of the centuria, or centurion. While there are higher ranks that an individual might pursue afterwards, the consecration of the centuria is understood to produce a fully initiated medium. Those preparing for the consecration of the centuria attend another series of lectures and receive further mantras of force that qualify them to participate in the full flavor of the Vale's numerous rituals, which number around 50 that are performed. Each one has a schedule, some are 3 times a day, some are less, some once a year. It's quite complicated. Once concluded, the centurion mediums acquired spiritual status is represented externally through additional insignia and symbols worn on her or his ritual vestments. So here you see this is the badge they get after that. What is initiation, and it depends on their type of mediumship, which I'll talk about in a second. But I don't know if anyone noticed, but the line of this shape is lilac. So the lilac indicates a difference in hierarchy. And I'll show you. We go back to this one. It's hard to see, but the line of this shape is maroon. So this person has a higher status, has undergone additional consecrations. Centurion mediums also acquire a number of other spiritual identifications, as well as personal spirit guides that assist and protect them spiritually. At this point, men achieve the title adjunto, which means deputy or adjunct, plus the name of their personal spirit guide. I have this example here, and so I have just blown out his little badge. So this is his name. This being is a human being. But spirit called Trevor. So that is kind of his official spiritual title. There's no comparable process for women. So women do not become adjuncts.
Adjunct means close or something.
Adjunct means like deputy. Deputy. It's like a military / police kind of hierarchy. In addition to differences between men and women that noticed, one of the salient distinctions among Vale members is that between two types of mediums, the doctrine or indoctrination medium and or incorporation medium. So each is identified by specialized clothing and symbols and is assigned a particular form of spiritual labor and a corresponding ritual role. Associated with the unconscious, the force of the meat, and silver. So you can see that in the same costume, and those really good sitting with silver. I don't know if you can see that. And you may have noticed this in earlier. So always adherents, always have silver trim, silver stars. The sources of consciousness, reason, the force of the sun, and some of the trend in the costumes. The same is true for men, but men don't have quite the variety of styles available to them as share, I think. So their talent is a little bit restrained. But here you see the difference is here by the sash. So there's a badge on the sash. So the triangle has a sash with the cross, and there's the triangle with the open book. And here you can see the difference lines of their capes again. So these distinctions are incredibly important to Vale members and are signaled in this very complex semiotic form. Finally, and believe it or not, I've cut out a lot of information. Each centurion medium is officially issued what's called an admission. This is a ritual formula that's specific to the individual, which they must memorize. These formulas, which are often quite lengthy, specify the medium's initiatory level, spirit guides, spiritual lineage, titles, and numerous other identifications acquired in the course of their initiation that I have not discussed. The admission also indicates the medium's relationship to more senior members of the hierarchy, stipulating her exact spiritual and social identity within the community. When Vale members ascend in the hierarchy, affiliate with a particular subgroup within the community, or take on specific ritual positions, their admissions change to reflect this new status. So I'm just going to give you a little sense of what does this sound like, and it'll probably not make any sense to you. That was his name, Anderson Olive. So it took him that long just to get to his name. When we're talking about error, an emission is said to open a direct channel into the most sublime spiritual planes, permitting the circulation of spiritual forces across the chasm that separates the dense terrestrial dimension from the upper reaches of the astral superior, the superior astral plane, home of the great initiates. Doctrinal literature describes the emission as an extension of the medium's higher self into the spiritual planes, as well as the means by which forces associated with the great initiates descend into the terrestrial plane. For this reason, emissions feature prominently in certain initiatory works, where each participant recites his or her emission following the hierarchical order of the chamada oficial, their official call. Higher ranking members are believed capable of summoning more potent forces that carry greater healing and spiritual capacity than those at lower levels. And so the mission that I played for you just earlier, I cut it off maybe halfway. It's maybe 2.5 minutes long. So when you have a lecture in which there are hundreds of participants that are each giving a mission, they can go on for an entire day. As a vocal performance, the emission serves two functions within the group's collective imagination. It signals that the medium has reached a certain level of spiritual development, possesses an initiated plexus, quote unquote, and therefore is able to mobilize corresponding spiritual energies as part of the group's ritualizing. When they perform as part of a collective ritual, emissions are held to catalyze a corresponding network of descending forces, forza decrescenti, that radiate into the physical world through Vale's hierarchical structure. These forces are absorbed into the initiated medium's solar plexus and then redirected outward to power the community's projects of spiritual healing and karmic redemption. For these reasons, Vale members describe themselves as veritable power plants, receiving and emitting forces. Emissions, then, to keep with the metaphor, are a switch that activates the doctrine of the divine's psychic voltage system, enabling its spiritual current to flow. So here is a nymph giving her emission during the ritual. On the social level, the emission functions as a hierarchical code that communicates each member's exact place within the hierarchy of the mestrado. During her lifetime, Aunt Neiva occupied the apex of this pyramid as the community's ultimate spiritual and temporal authority. Since her death, and following the bureaucratic structure that she herself established, the topmost ranks of the pyramid are open to men. These ranks correlate to the position of greatest authority and decision-making power over the community. This male-dominated leadership structure is believed to reflect on the physical plane the regnant hierarchy of the spiritual plane, conceived as a series of descending forces that are invoked through emissions. Thus, for those who can understand their coded language, emissions offer a symbolic diagram of social power, bureaucratic authority, and status within the community. The doctrine asserts that Vale members progressively become more sensitive to the vibrations of the superior planes over the course of their initiatory trajectory, receiving at each level different mantras of force, which are held to transform their solar plexuses. These psychic transformations, which are otherwise completely imperceptible to the ordinary senses, are externalized and made tangible through a highly elaborated semiotic system of titles, insignia, virtual positions, formulations, emissions, etc., that reveal to the community that individuals acquiring esoteric or hidden powers. These symbolic representations do not just communicate the individual state of spiritual development, however. They also map a social hierarchy in which men and women at different levels have different levels of access to authority and other forms of social capital. For example, while the mestrado itself is open to all Vale members, only men can attain the uppermost ranks of the Vale's hierarchy, which are associated with positions of richer and bureaucratic leadership and the ability to make decisions that affect the entire community. And more specifically, only men with Becominga are able to hold those ranks. So since Aunt Neiva's death, this is the structure she established. These are the ranks that are open only to indoctrinator mediums. So it's even more specific than just men. You have to have a certain kind of mediumship. Women do take on certain leadership roles within the community. They're always in partnership with a man, and authority is always over other women. The social capital associated with both gender and initiatory rank also can be into non-ritual contexts in various ways. Lower ranking members may feel a set of pressure to do things if asked by higher ranking members, for example, even if they would prefer otherwise. Similarly, women who are not permitted to command or lead Vale rituals often are expected to donate much of their time to tasks related to the physical upkeep of the temple or the community's fundraising activities. At the same time, the basic equality of all members is underlined in different ways. Many of the social distinctions of class and status, ordinarily communicated through clothing, are leveled to some extent by the standardized uniforms that members wear, which, quote, assures equality among our people. The cult driver and the doctor are on the same level, and are both masters just the same, end quote, as the current president of the Valleyof, Master Valleyof, put it in an interview. Vale discourse depicts the educational process as masters teaching masters, indicating that all members have knowledge to share. And of course, everyone is able to enter the mestrado, a term that is associated on the one hand with university education, which is not available to the vast majority of Brazilians, and on the other with a cult hierarchy of the great masters. So this just gives you a greater sense of the variety in costumes. So I want to conclude with some thoughts about the functions of secrecy and revealment. With its multi-level system of initiation, promising to reveal hidden dimensions of the universe and the self, the Valleyof exhibits a form of secrecy that we might call Gnostic, the ancient Greek word for knowledge, especially knowledge of hidden spiritual truths. Gnostic secrecy rests on the idea that insight into the true nature of reality depends on direct experience through the development of faculties or psychic powers of the self. At the Valleyof, this process is conceptualized and termed mediumistic development. A form of training that is both intellectual and embodied, mediumistic development exposes initiates to the Vale's complex theology, while simultaneously teaching them to perceive certain interior states as linked to mediumship and the energetic transformation of the solar plexus. As the initiate develops their mediumship, she or he ascends to different ranks that are articulated in spiritual terms as the acquisition of initiatory forces and spiritual powers that transform the self. At every level, these otherwise hidden transformations are revealed to the ordinary senses by a baroque blend of titles, bonds, ritual regalia, emissions, and so forth, that signal the initiate's status and abilities. Both the gradual nature of this process and its performative display heightens a sense among participants that they are being transformed spiritually. Through this dialectic of concealment and revelation, secrecy helps to produce a sensually felt experience of transformation. The various ways that an initiate's position in the hierarchy of the mestrado is materially enacted through the body suggests another function of secrecy, its role as a kind of adorning possession. At each different level, the bodies of initiates are covered with specific articles of clothing, symbolic insignia, and other adornments, and authorized to perform specific ritual activities and emissions, Hugh Urban, drawing on the work of George Simmons, calls this the enduring function of secrecy. When publicly displayed, secret knowledge acts as a form of symbolic capital that enhances the status of those who possess it. As illustrative examples, Urban points to the elaborate titles in the Neiva of the Scottish rite of Freemasonry, and especially the jewelry used by some Scientologists to announce their advanced status as OTs or operating Thetans. In a similar fashion, the Valleyof initiates acquisition of esoteric knowledge is publicly announced through forms of Bible display and performance that carry social benefits in the form of status, prestige, and other forms of symbolic power. So in this, I just want to point out, just by looking at this, that I can tell you basically who this man is. I can certainly like because he's with this woman here, whose costume is specific to with this particular, this is an adjunct level. This woman here, certain temples, the president of a temple outside of the center, and so on. So just once you learn kind of a short language, they're able to not everyone, basically. The social implications of esoteric knowledge as an enduring possession and its leadership structure. The hierarchy of the mestrado does not just provide access to other greater degrees of spiritual power. It also is the foundation for temporal power within the religion, sustaining a male-dominated system in which only certain men have access to the highest ranks. Since these ranks coincide with administrative authority and decision-making power of the community, the power associated with them is both symbolic and social. Secrecy, in this instance, serves to mystify a gendered system of power, obscuring its social functions and social effects behind a discourse of spiritual development. So here's Aunt Neiva with her all-male leadership hierarchy. Finally, the Valleyof illustrates the legitimate necessity of the secret to the enterprise of religion itself. If we understand religion as a human construction, founded on claims about a great reality that is not completely knowable to humans, then we should expect to see a recurrent dialectic of concealment and revelation as a significant structuring element. To hide and to unveil, to contain and to reveal, as Hugh Urban and Paul Danton observe, this is the rhythm of secrecy and also of religion. In the case of the Valley of the Dog, the generative secret for the emergence of the religion and its development over time was this claim to have been initiated into secret knowledge under the tutelage of the Tibetan Master in him. One of the esoteric hierarchy of enlightened beings responsible for guiding the spiritual evolution of humanity. As a result of this initiation, according to Aunt Neiva, she gained access to hidden dimensions of reality. She learned the secrets of the relationship between the elevated spiritual planes and the lower material world, where spirits continually incarnate in order to redeem their negative karma and then guide and enable their spiritual evolution. She was inducted into the high magic of Jesus Christ and taught the Christic system as a means of accelerating karmic redemption, earning her mestrado. At the same time, Aunt Neiva's assertion of initiatory knowledge served to reinforce her spiritual and temporal authority. She alone had access to the esoteric wisdom of the great masters. She was the prophetic agent working to implement their plan for humanity's spiritual evolution. She then brought this knowledge to her followers in the form of the mestrado, initiating them into Gnostic secrets that, until this day, transform them into masters. For Vale adherents, the transcendent knowledge brings available only to a spiritual elite, now powers the Vale's work of karmic redemption and spiritual healing. Where the focal point for esoteric work had once been the Himalayas, unquote, as Paul had informed me that first day, now it is here at the Vale of the Moon. Thank you. We have split these institutions.